Welcome to the Wayne Bennett Podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Welcome to our podcast. This is Wayne Bennett, and this is episode number 30. And I'd like to give a shout out to the Beckley Flying Eagles and the Shady Spring Tigers and the Independence Patriots for their first win beginning of the football season, and all of them did a great job, and congratulations, and hope you have more success as the season goes. And today we got two guys that have devoted a lot of time and toward the revitalization of the Beckley Babe Ruth, and good friends of mine, and Jeff Leopardi and Doug Leeber. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us. Good morning.
Thank you, Coach.
And you guys are brothers. Jeff, a few years ago, you changed your name a little. Tell us a little bit. You didn't change your name.
I took our original family name back. It was one of those things where I had a family history done, and when I was out in Denver living, and come to find out, all along it was our actual birth. They were supposed to be Leopardi, and when our family came over to this country from Italy, they had changed it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was to find work or whatever, but so that really kind of moved me a little bit, and I got a hold of my father and kind of asked him for permission. He said, sure. He said, he didn't know you could change your name back at that time, and so I legally changed it to Leopardi.
Now, did you have to go back and change your birth certificate? And
you go through the courts, and they have you fill out a bunch of stuff, so it might have been easier to do the birth certificate, but you can't. You have to go through the legal system, and once that they make sure you're doing this not to avoid legal issues or debt issues, then they'll allow you to change your name.
Well, that's something. Well, now, you guys have been involved in sports all your life, and how did you get introduced to sports yourself when you were a kid? What was the first sport, or how do you remember?
Dad in the backyard with a stick showing us how to line up on football and how to play. You put the X's, O's in the grounds and use a few little rocks here and there to simulate playing. And when we started doing a few things here and there, but it all started with Dad in the backyard.
Now, you lived around Mabscott area?
Yep. B Street.
And your dad, he was an athlete too, wasn't he?
He was. He played back in his day as well. He played for Beckley. When he played, he didn't get to play but 1 year of junior high before they went to high school, because when he grew up in Mabscott, they went all the way through the 8th grade. And you couldn't play sports over in Beckley if you had Mabscott, and Mabscott didn't offer football. So he only got 1 year of high school or junior high, then he went right to high school after that and played.
Yeah, that was the same way with me. We had I went to Sylvia School, and we went first through the 8th grade. But the ones that age-wise, we could play youth football up until I played up until the 8th grade because I was a young 8th grader. And but when you went to the 9th grade at Beckley Junior High, you had some of them guys that already played 2 years at Beckley Junior High, and it was kind of tough to break the line.
He talked about exactly like that same thing. That's what he said.
But and then who, as far as organized sports, who was your first coach, Jeff? Do you remember?
Bill Cole.
Bill Cole.
I love him. I love that guy. He was first football coach, and South Rebels. I think was it at a local name. Of course, his son Billy, Vince Colcerto, Kurt Francisco. There was a whole bunch of us there on that squad, and that was basically the ones from Mabscott up through the Leopardi Park area. That mid-league program, and but Bill Cole, he did quite a good job.
And so football was the first sport you guys were introduced to. What about baseball, Doug?
Gosh, that was, who my first coach was organized was Pete Colcerto in T-ball.
Really?
Yeah, I was real little, and I can remember him coaching us, and I told Mom and Dad, I said, he looks like Walter Matthau of the Bad News Bears. That's who he reminded me of at the time. Don't know why, but that's who he reminded me of. I hope Pete don't kill me for that one, but that's who he reminded me of at the time, kind of thing, because I love the Bad News Bears. But
he didn't drink or anything?
No, that wasn't Coach. You know that for sure. It's funny, I seen Coach earlier this season, and he come down to say hi to me at Babe Ruth. Next thing I know, I'm standing straight up for him. He gets to me, I'm 17 years old. Yes, sir. No, sir. How you doing, Coach? Kind of thing. It was good to see him for a few minutes.
Now, how about Babe Ruth? When you got to Babe Ruth, was your dad your coach then, or?
Go ahead. Yeah, my dad was my coach. I think we had a silver brand. My 13-year-old year, my father he took that team, and that was the beginning of a long coaching spell for him. I think maybe 30 years in the league, give or take. He never left.
Wow.
But it was Babe Ruth is a place where in my opinion, during that era, that's where you went to show your stuff. You had a huge 13-year-old league. I think 5 or 6, 7 teams maybe on a good year. You had 14 to 15s with about those same numbers, maybe a little more. You had a 16, you had a 17, 18 for a period. You didn't have a lot of travel ball and things like that. And, it just, you knew to bring your A game because everybody from the city is there watching you, And I really think it just had a positive impact on you. And it made you push just a little bit harder.
We had when I played Babe Ruth ball, there was no 13-year-old league, but we had a 13-year-old all-star team. That they would, but we had an American and a National League, and I think it was 6 teams in each league, and they didn't have the high screen in right field at that time. It was actually it was a wooden fence, and they painted the advertisements on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it stayed on there. Once they painted it. And sometimes every once in a while somebody hit a baseball hard enough it'd go through the fence. And everybody was trying to hit toward right field because it was short.
Yeah.
And but then they put the big screen up and kind of solved that situation. But we had, like I said, we had a 14, 15-year-old. We had 6 and 6, and then they picked a 13-year-old all-star team, and of course they played each other first and see if they qualified for anything else. But there was a lot of participation, and there was some fantastic coaches over there. I mean, them guys put a lot of time in. It just wasn't a lot of places to practice for that age group because little league age you had 3 fields down there, but Babe Ruth you had 1 or any flat piece of ground that you could find.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty demanding if a coach wanted to practice a lot. And I played for a team called New River Supply, and we were terrible the first year I played. Then we got a little better the second year, and the third year we weren't bad. We had a guy named David Cassidy who was probably the best player we had, and he played at Woodrow and was a pretty outstanding player that we had. What about growing up? What's your favorite baseball team?
No, Cincinnati Reds.
Cincinnati Reds.
It was a big red machine when I was growing up. It was the days of Johnny Bench and Pete Rose and Cesar Cedeno and all those guys. Those were my favorite players. I mean, Tom Seaver when he was on there before he left again. But those was my days of memories of them.
And a lot of people around followed the Reds because that's about all you got on the radio at the time. And what about you, Jeff?
I tell you, I love the Dodgers. My father loved the Dodgers, so we had that. But what you could pick up then was either the Reds or the Braves. With the rabbit ears on the TV set, and so you learned to like the Braves too. Because that's who you got to see.
Yeah, when Ted Turner first took over that station and they had every game that the Braves played, people started watching and following, and you got a lot of Braves fans. And I grew up as a Reds fan too, and I used to go to sleep at night listening to the Reds on the transistor radio, and Joe Nuxall and the early announcers. And then I also, mainly because of a Little League excursion I took, we went to watch the Washington Senators, who were terrible, but I became a Senator fan, and it's carried over. I'm a Nationals fan, and been to see several of their games, and I actually been up to see the Reds this year. Went and watched them get beat by Cleveland a couple of weeks ago. And might go back if they get in the playoffs, man.
You never know.
I'm thinking. Now you guys, after you got, what happened? You played high school ball you played football. Did you wrestle in high school, Jeff?
No, I didn't wrestle in high school. I pretty much just stayed with football. And Pete said I had a lot of growing to do. I had a good skill set, but I needed some size. And he used to tell me to make sure I don't push away from the table too soon and stay in the weight room. So pretty much I dedicated it to football through the high school years.
Yeah, when you centered in football, you was only like 165 pounds, something like that. What about you, Doug, in high school?
I ended up playing. I only got to play really one game in 5 minutes my senior year. Then I got my knee smashed pretty good against Greenbrier East, and that was the end of my football time. So I had to have knee surgery. When I was 1986, surgery's a little bit different back then, so you don't recover near as fast. So I wasn't walking till probably probably wasn't walking at that time after that surgery till probably next spring.
Really?
Yeah, it was a long time to heal.
Yeah.
So, yes, that happens. You get into sports and you take a risk of injury.
Yeah. When you graduated, where'd you head? What directions you go to?
I stayed around here for a while. I worked a few different jobs, tried a few different things. And then I went in the military, but my knee messed up again in the military. So about 6 weeks later, I come back home on a medical discharge. And then I think it was right around 1990 or 91, I started taking a few classes that then became Beckley College, which became College of West Virginia. And then 1993, I went to Marshall. And then graduated in 1997 with a safety degree, a bachelor's degree in health and safety.
Wow. And that's what you're doing now?
Yep. I've been doing it ever since. So it's been a good career, good job. I mean, it's done a lot. I travel a lot for work, travel all over the country. But it's a good company. A company I work for now is called SGS, and I worked for Alcoa and one prior to that. So that was up in Columbus, Ohio. And then here recently I come back home in 2005.
Okay, Jeff, what path did you follow after high school?
After high school, I went into the military. So I had that summer off your senior year, and no, I didn't go to the beach. We didn't have those means to do that type of thing. But I spent it on the bank fishing and just a little bit of hunting. In October, I went into the Army, and I did 4 years in there, active duty, as an MP. And it brought me, back to the Braves. My first duty station after basic training in AIT was in Atlanta, Georgia. And the way it worked out, we had some people come to us from Fulton County Stadium, the old Brave Stadium, said, look, we need some people to come help work security. You guys want to come, we'll pay you. We'll feed you, and you guys can pick up bits of the game as it goes on. And that was a great deal for us. So they would transport us from the barracks over to the field, do exactly what they said, and we did what we were supposed to do, and come back. So that worked out great. I got to watch a lot of the Braves games, and as an 18 to 19-year-old kid, that's everything. You really you've arrived. So after 4 years in the Army, life took me out to Colorado, and I lived out there for a little over 10 years. I was a deputy sheriff out there for Adams County, which is just north of Denver there. And after that, worked my way back here, and I worked for the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I've been doing that ever since.
How many years have you been out to prison?
Well, 18. I've got 18 and change. I've got a little less than a year and a half, and I'm eligible to retire from that. So, and it's a young man's game, young person's game. We got a lot of female staff that do a good job out there too. So, you do your 20 and you're eligible. I'm probably going to enjoy it a little bit of life.
I understand that. Now let's go back just a second. Both these guys, I had the privilege of coaching you guys a little bit. Doug was in the 9th grade, I think, when I got to Park, and got to work with him some in football and wrestling, and Jeff was in the 7th grade, I think, when we got up there. And we had some success. It was a lot of fun, that was a good time for Park football. I mean, we kind of got things turned around a little bit in wrestling, and it was enjoyable. But we had some pretty big squads back then too. I mean, the team was anywhere from 40 to 60 players, and we didn't at that time. They didn't play a lot of B team ball or anything. So if you didn't make the starting lineups, a lot of times you had to watch it. But it was competitive, very competitive, and very enjoyable. But now, so you guys, how did both of you been involved in coaching at some point? Doug, how'd you get in what have you coached, and how'd you get involved?
Well, honestly, after went to Marshall and everything, my coaching days I didn't do a lot because I was moving from place to place after I graduated. But when I moved back home, Jeff has his son Antonio, and Antonio, for his sport, he was in it. So Jeff was usually a coach or a head coach, and I told him, I could be a greatest fan, your scorekeeper, or an assistant coach. Just tell me what you need me to do. So whatever I helped, I would help. I was always, there just to be there for them because it was family, and it's something I love to do anyway. So, and that was the biggest times for me was, during Antonio's years. During the years when I just got out of high school, I coached over at Babe Ruth with Dad with Blue Ridge. That was a big sponsor back in when Mr. Roop owned Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
And great guy. And then eventually I ended up taking over Blue Ridge, and Dad became assistant coach. And coached there several years, but just like I said, just before I went to Marshall. So it was a great time. I mean, I spent a lot of time with a lot of kids, and when they come back by the field every once in a while at Babe Ruth, it's like memory road for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
It's nice, just like for us right now, your memory road for us.
Well, Jeff, how did you get involved?
Well, kind of the same way, as I was coming up through, when you're in high school years, I always played football. Well, when baseball season came around, Dad and my brother were obviously coaching. I kind of helped out as well, anything from pitching batting practice to catching in infield, working with kids on their baseball skills. If I knew somebody was coming up through and wrestling, even though I wasn't on the mound anymore, you still know enough to help them out. If they need somebody to grapple with, you jumped in there and you kind of gave them some reps. You enjoyed that a little bit. And then through my military years, I had an opportunity to do a little bit with football in the suburbs of Atlanta. And when I was in Colorado, Eastern Plains part of the state, I helped coach a high school team there for a couple years, Calhan. And they ran the veer, so I had to learn that, which is unique compared to what we did back here. And it was a lot of fun. It really was.
Let's go to the Babe Ruth situation now. I know that we were talking about some of the peak years and stuff, and then a few years ago, the Babe Ruth League started becoming depleted some. The field kind of went downhill and wasn't getting enough players out. And how did you guys get involved with revitalizing?
I got a phone call from Coach Barksdale. So another one of the coaches from my past that, like, as soon as you hear the voice and the name, you straighten up, yes sir, how you doing, like that kind of thing, Anyway, so Coach Barksdale says, hey, look, I'd like to talk to you about something. He said, would you like to meet me for breakfast somewhere? I'm like, okay, I'm wondering what this is about, kind of thing. So we met at Bob Evans, and he's like, he just took a new job with the city, and he was to help revitalize youth sports around the city of Beckley, and also even pickleball, which is an upcoming thing he's been really getting behind as well. And he asked me to take Babe Ruth on. And I thought about it real hard for a couple of days, and I said, if my brother will be VP, we want it. I said, we'll do it, kind of thing. And then, so that's how it began. And then the city really got behind us, helped, get the field straightened up again. We hired a guy that does golf courses and everything to do like quarterly treatments through the year on it, doing different things. We bought more sand and clay, rebuilt the infield, rebuilt the new mound, all those kind of things. And then Coach Barksdale is still a big part of it. If you go out there and see all those sponsor signs, every one of them are Coach. So, he is out and around the city of Beckley and around the area. And all these people have come forward, and all these sponsors and businesses, and just want to put a sign out there. There's probably 80 signs out there covering the field.
It's interesting you said that, because I've been out there looking at it, and almost every sign, those guys have a history from Babe Ruth baseball. A lot of them played, coached, or something. It's really weird. So people were wanting
to get back involved in it. They wanted to see that happen again. And then we created a Facebook page, and we become very transparent about everything we do and how we do it and when we're going to do it. And we got to the point where we even got a little bit of online signups to use, make it very simple to do. And we really needed the online signups during the COVID period. We needed, because 2020 was a mess, and now it's not,
But you got to have a league, though.
Yeah, we got to have a league, and we doubled our enrollment for the year that we took over we went to 88 kids that first year. And then we kept 85 during the COVID time, which was wow. And then last year we were right around 85 again, and that's not without any high schoolers. There was only like maybe one or two that played because the high school season stretched so far this last time around. It really ran smack dab into the season. A couple did play the last week or two of the season, but all in all, if we'd had the high school kids, we may have hit 100, 120.
Wow.
But, you can only go what you have, and it was 85 for the season, which was a great sign-up of kids.
Now, I know, it looks like baseball's on the upswing around the area again. I know the Ecklings have, leagues at their field and stuff. And do you some of the players do both, or is there a conflict?
I would say I know there's players that do both.
Uh-huh.
And usually what happens as they're ending that middle school ball league, that's when Babe Ruth's firing up.
Uh-huh.
And it may be a little bit a week or two of that, and the kids will choose which they're going to go play. But, Babe Ruth, we don't forfeit games. We borrow players during the season, and we play like that all the way through until we get to the tournament. Then in the end, you got to field your own team. But no matter what, it's kids playing ball and getting reps in. So if you got to borrow a couple players, you borrow them. We put a few pitching rules in there so you can't pitch somebody else's players or catch them, but you can play them in the field and all that and have games.
Now that's the Babe Ruth is still 13 to 15.
Mm-hmm.
I saw where Little League was trying to have like a fall league this past year. I don't know whether it happened or not.
I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know why they did that, but they did. So
I'd like to see the city, in a way, I'd kind of like to see the city take over Little League, and kind of change things around a little bit. But at least the kids are getting an opportunity to play baseball.
Right.
Now, let's say I'm a kid and I'm 13 years old. I want to play baseball at Babe Ruth. What's it going to cost me? What do I have to do? How do I?
Well, I bet just back up for 1 second. You can play now at 12.
Okay.
If there's a certain cut date that Little League went with, that a kid can still be 12 years old and still not be old or too old to play. So I talked to the headquarters for us, or our commissioner. He says, they can come on up and play at 12, so as long as we don't interfere with the Little League, they can come on up and play with us. So we got 12-year-olds running around the league, and you'll find some are just as good as the 13s and the 14s, kind of thing. So we've got those as well. For us, it's only $60, and that's just enough to cover a uniform for them, a little bit of umpire fees, stuff like that during the season. So it's only $60, and we do have tryouts. And like you was talking this morning, but back then when you played, or I was listening to you this morning, not everybody made a team, but now when we try out, no matter what, you're going to make a team.
Mm-hmm.
But the coaches, we use that as a draft system. So when they go in, they've got players ranked. When we go in, we do the draft. Every kid plays or gets on a team.
Do you have any type of scholarships or anything like that if a kid can't afford the $60? Is there help out there?
We're arms wide open. We bring them right in.
Yeah.
And we even have we've had businesses donate cleats. Board Education donated cleats before. One year we got I think that first season we got 100 pair of cleats from Spanky, Mr. Francis out of Board Education at that time.
Uh-huh.
He gave us a bunch of them. He said there was a bunch of cleats left over, and we brought them over. And I think every kid in the league that year got a brand new pair of cleats.
Wow.
So,
well, I know Dick's Sporting Goods is the national sponsor of Babe Ruth, and I didn't know whether you guys got any help.
No, I'll tell you who else was help before Larry Foster retired. He donated a bunch of stuff. Yeah, Spartans. I mean, Spartans gave us gloves, bats, bags, cleats, all the things you would need for a kid to play with. And even Larry designed our current uniforms. We went to a brand new uniform in 2019 for each team. We went to a basic gray pair of pants for everybody, and then a jersey different for everybody, and hats and all that stuff. So Larry designed those before he retired.
He even maintains our grounds now.
Yeah, he's been a big help.
Yeah, he just volunteers his
I
time.
know you guys can't do it all by yourself. Who are some of the other? You mentioned Larry, of course. Who are some of the other people that are on the board or help out with?
The board members are been great, but I tell you, and even Larry's on the board now too. But the first year we hired one of the players who's played for us, Hunter Tolliver. He cut the field, and then I think he's went on to do a few other things. But the next season, Larry Foster said, "Hey, I'd like to get involved over there," and I said, "Well, I just need this or this." He says, "No, I want it all." I said, "Well, here's the keys. You can have it all, And he's took them ever since. I don't have to worry about the field anymore. As far as that getting grass, and when it's lined up, it's ready to go. I mean, he's been a big volunteer for us.
Wow.
And then there's some other people that really have come along and helped us. Again, Coach Barksdale, he's always there. I mean, he's just a phone call away. Pepsi came in, helped us out, get going with our drinks and our concession stand, a cooler, and all those different things. There's been several sponsors, like I said, ones out in the field, people doing private donations, the whole 9 yards. So, and the board is very active. I mean, they're getting involved.
Also, Phil Norman and his big shout out to the whole Norman family.
Yeah.
Emma and Noah, their children, they're both adults now, and one's in her 20s. Emma, she's going to Marshall now. But they were scorekeepers this year, and they did all the announcing, scorekeeping, and things for us. Phil and his wife Michelle, they're instrumental. They raise a great family. They do a lot for us. And Phil owns a construction company, so when we have issues of maintenance that needs put back together, damage or whatever, they send somebody out real quick and even help. I think he contracted a guy to fix our scoreboard, didn't he?
Yep, scoreboard. They rebuilt the dugouts. They poured concrete. I mean, anything because that old field still needs a lot of help, but you ought to see what it was and where it's at now. It's one of the big reasons it started. When we first took over, first base dugout had a hole torn in the roof. People were living in the dugout. They were tearing out pieces and burning that fire off that old plywood off that first base dugout.
Now, Babe Ruth, I didn't know this, the Cal Ripken division of Babe Ruth. Of course, I loved Cal Ripken when he played. And then, of course, there's other leagues out there like Tom Seaver League and Pony League. I watched a Pony League game the other day on ESPN, and I didn't. Do you see growth for Babe Ruth baseball nationwide? Do you think it's going to happen, or is it going to get bigger? Or
well, I watch it, and I even follow. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Eau Claire. A couple years back, our team, Beckley, we won the state championship for the was it 14s or 15s? 14, 15-year-old division. And their next stop was Wisconsin, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, in the Ohio Valley Regionals. And when I went up there to, kind of watch the game, support, the program and stuff, I was like, this is huge. I mean, you had teams from all over, and they brought the people with them. They had like 3 or 4 fields up there, and it was packed. And it was strictly pretty much Babe Ruth. They had a little indoor training facility up there. They had everything set up nice for those kids, and it makes you wonder. There's some people are taking it real serious around the U.S., so I'd like to see it follow back here too. And this year I think Eau Claire actually sent somebody to the World Series, and they may actually win it. I haven't been checked the finals yet.
When my son John was 13, Beckley hosted the 13-year-old Ohio Valley tournament, and Beckley got to play in it since they were host, and I think it won one game and then got beat out. But we'd had 2 boys came and stayed with us from Detroit, and those kids were serious businessmen. Let me tell you. And Detroit got all the way to the finals, and those kids the coach every morning would take them out to Sylvia Grade School or some flat piece of ground, and they would hit a little bit, throw a little, even if they had a game later today. And those guys would, if they were sitting here at the house, that's before they had a lot of games and stuff, but on TV, but they would shine their shoes, oil the gloves. I mean, they would, and they could play. We became fans after the Beckley team got beat. We became fans of Detroit, and it really bothers me. I can't remember the guys' names now. It's been a bunch of years ago, 30-some years, but I'd like to see what happened to them, because they were serious. They may have played pro ball. Mm-hmm. They were really that good. But I know Babe Ruth also offers what they call a Bambino buddy ball, which is for people mentally or physically impaired, and it's kind of growing too. So yep. It's what goal or what would you like to see for Beckley Babe Ruth? Something that you don't have right now. What do you want?
Are you talking about facilities wise or growth? Whatever. I tell you what we're in need of, and things are so expensive right now, but we need bat cages. I mean, there was one bat cage over at one time, and that thing was a shambles when we got there. It was more of a hazard than it was anything. So, again, P&M Development, we said, hey, we need to get rid of all this stuff. So they just took out the rest of it and took it down for us and got it out of there. But we need that. We need to get some fence rebuilt, especially around the backstop and going around the monster, as you was mentioning earlier when we were talking. Those fences probably are older than me and Jeff. So, it's probably, I don't know how long the fence has been here, but it's got some age to it. So we need help in those arenas right there as far as facilities wise. If we got a batting cage on each side, now you got a warm-up mound for pitchers, you've got batting, for during the games, you got plenty of time for batting, all those different things. So we could definitely use that. That's what we're working on.
Now, the biggest thing, too, is, what draws Babe Ruth isn't just your travel players. It isn't just your players that, okay, I can get some more reps over here and I can move on. There's a lot of kids that simply can't afford to play in other leagues. And we need to do something for them. That to me, this is their opportunity. Like you said, if somebody doesn't have the $60 to play, we're going to make sure that you do play. We want you to come out and participate and be a part of it and get that experience. Everyone has a right to play baseball, bar none. And that's the thing. But we need to have some facilities to provide for these kids that want to work and want to train who can't afford to do it in other places. We need that to give them the same opportunities as somebody that does. Yeah. It shouldn't be gauged on how much your parents make or not make to where you can get extra training or not. Because, level the playing field.
Well, guys, man, time flies. It just seemed like we got started. What's your mother's name? She's still
Lois.
What?
Lois Holiday.
And how's she doing?
Awesome. What Mama wants, Mama gets. And
that's
we get to see her quite a bit. She's in North Carolina at the moment, visiting some family with our stepdad, and so they're enjoying life a little bit. They're retired and they kind of just bounce around. But she's the same little lady, and it's hard to keep up with her. So she's on the move.
Well, we'd like to give a big shout out to her. She raised two fine young men,
Thank you, Coach.
I'm sure she's proud of you. Only one more question, guys, and I'd like to get you guys back because we ain't done. Sometime come back and talk to us again, and might get into some old stories there. But and everybody else, I'd like to remind you, check us out on Facebook or Spotify or Google, and like us because that kind of helps our ranking a little bit in the nation. And until next time, remember, if you ain't dead yet, you ain't done yet. This is Wayne Bennett, and God bless you.